Welcome to Beyond the Pulpit with Bishop Kevin, the show that is spiritual but not churchy. Each week, Bishop talks to different guests about real-life situations. If you want to support the Beyond the Pulpit podcast, head over to www.kevinwillisministries.org/podcast for more information. Now let's get into our episode.
All right, welcome to Beyond the Pulpit. We are now at part 3 of the 16-year later conversation.
3.5.
If y'all only knew. So today in the studio we have Bishop Dr. Linda and Quincy. How everybody doing?
Thank you. Doing well. Thank you for putting that doctor on there.
Oh.
I'm
Okay,
doctor
yeah.
across the street at Conversations with Linda.
You Linden here.
Yeah.
Just laid back. This the man cave.
So we're going to jump right in.
Okay.
So let's do this really fast because last week we talked about New Life and what we were. So you kept talking about the culture of New Life. Mm-hmm. So can you define that really quickly? Because a lot of churches don't use the word culture.
Yeah, and it's an old word, but it's become relevant now that people are really thinking about it and looking at it. The culture is the way you do things, the attitude that you have, the environment. It's an intangible piece. Samuel Chan talks about it as when you got a toxic culture, it's like carbon monoxide. It's present, deadly, but you don't even know it's there, and it kills your church. So when we talk about culture, we're talking about the way we do things. Excellence is always at the forefront. That whatever we do, our standard is excellence. Flexibility, all of those things. People matter. You know, we call it the Great 8. These 8 things. These values of this ministry, what we value. We know what our mission is. We know what our vision is. But what we value is excellence, being flexible, giving, those kinds of things, making sure that people are treated with dignity and respect. So that's pretty much when I say culture, the way we do things and the attitude, the how, the what. And I know I'm using a lot of words, but just to give somebody an understanding, it's all about the how and the why.
And I think that's what helps us from not becoming, like we talked about last week, repetitive.
Yeah.
And you stay on top of the culture and
Right.
you evaluate the culture.
Absolutely.
Because we do that. You know, we do have meetings where we say, okay, let's talk about that.
Every church has an identity, just like every family has an identity. So when we go to your family has an identity, the way you all do things, and whether y'all do spaghetti and fish.
Do not start.
Yeah, that's definitely her culture.
Right.
Absolutely.
So,
That's a Memphis thing.
And so we had to be courageous enough to own there is just a way we do things here. Now, they may do it differently at somebody else's church, but this is the way we do it here.
And I think our identity, as we touched on last week, is being the melting pot for people going through things, or the melting pot where people are, it didn't work out at another church, so I'm starting over here.
That's
it
how
gives
we
you
start getting the waves of people.
Yeah, so let's jump into the waves of people. So,
Yeah.
So let me add this.
Okay.
I don't necessarily know if I want New Life to be the church where people come after it didn't work out somewhere else, per se.
No, we were saying that's how it started.
Yeah,
People,
but I'm saying
the waves started.
Yeah, but I'm saying I don't want to be that church anymore, because you know this whole thing people say about church. The church is a hospital for this. Yeah.
Well, I don't think when I say where it didn't work out somewhere else, it was necessarily bad, because we all have to come from somewhere.
We all come from somewhere, but we have experienced those situations in people that have come from other places.
And what did they bring with
And
them?
it's a degree of difficulty, because it's hurt, it's pain, it's tragedy, it's trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and so you try to be sympathetic and sensitive to a certain extent, and then you start discovering, there's so many different sides to this particular piece of cake. You're like, oh, okay, some of this is you, some of this is them, some of this is how you were raised, culture.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff doesn't fit the culture of New Life, because we're not that church, that everybody's flexible. Everybody takes on a part, and we get going. We're up the road. We're trying to make progress, and so we're not necessarily that church that's going to carry you on a stretcher.
Well, because when you think of a hospital,
Yeah.
people don't go to live in a hospital.
They stop by.
They go to get healed
And they leave.
and they leave. So you got a revolving door. We want to be a community.
Yeah.
We want to be, a family, a nation, as we call ourselves.
Now, only a doctor would say that. Only a doctor would say that.
Yeah. That's why I'm here today.
But I think
It's your last day, too.
hired and fired on the same
what I'm
day.
saying?
But I think that goes into the waves. I mean, you see different people come in and then they move on out. But you need those different people for different times. So let's talk about the waves and how God has given you, the right people during the right season. Because New Life has been through different seasons.
Oh, yeah. And let me just say, when you are new, you're just the flavor of the month or the flavor of the season.
The flavor of the Sunday.
Don't let new
Right.
go to your head.
Yeah.
Because you'll get a swollen head because everybody's joining your church. Let me tell you something. People come and go.
Yeah.
I mean, they do that with restaurants.
Oh,
They
yeah.
do that with all kinds of businesses. Whatever's new, everybody's going to flock to it, right?
And then something else new
So
pops
something new
down the
pops
corner.
up.
And they're gone.
Absolutely. And so we had the waves. We had the waves of the DeSoto Civic Center, and then we moved to 6888, which was in Olive Branch, Mississippi. That was only 10 miles down the road, but people took that as an opportunity to get off the bus. It's like COVID. When COVID happened, some people left marriages, jobs. It was a stop, and they were like, "I'm getting off right here."
Out.
It was an out.
Yeah.
And so, so then we had another wave of people. And then that wave was the people that at that time the city was going through, there were several churches going through major upheavals. And people were leaving churches, and New Life was where they came, a lot of them, as a refuge or whatever. Now, they didn't want to be active because they were hurt and all of that. But they came, right? And then what happened when they felt better and got healed, they moved on. And then we saw this other wave, and that other wave was our older members, because we didn't have older members.
Right. Yeah.
And so we started getting older couples, and John and Betty Hallman, and the Johnsons, and the Greens, and and that was so refreshing. Because it gave us balance, right? And they're still here.
Yeah.
They're still
So
here.
they were not a part of the wave.
And then we came to 6825 where we are now. Then we became a neighborhood church because on 6888 we were on a thoroughfare. Here, then people started coming because we were the church in the neighborhood, and this used to be a white church. This building was owned by white people. So, a new black church is in the neighborhood. We got those people, and then we've always been that church where people who were not members here but had a friend, family member that was looking for somebody, looking for a church, they would drop them off here. That always happened. It still happens.
Yeah.
I know Bishop says he doesn't get that, but they're committed to their own churches, but they feel like New Life would fit their friend or family.
Well, no, I mean, I get it. I definitely understand it. It's always comical when somebody says that to me, or when we hear that, because it just means that, and it's true. You don't fit every area, and that's okay. Because we've had people who've come to our church, if we're going to talk about waves, who've come here for a minute and left because they didn't fit.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool thing. I think going to where you fit is more important than just being in a church. So I'm
Absolutely.
I'm not bothered with that. The other thing is that there have been ways of people connected to certain seasons in the life of the church. And then there's some people who need to pass through, not because they were going to contribute anything in as much as they needed to receive something for where they were headed. Because we've had a lot of members who were here, who received, who went to different states.
Oh, yeah.
Took on the projects, joined other churches.
Yeah.
And they were the better because they came through New Life. So I think New Life has touched people in a variety of ways. We've had people who've come here who thought they would be difficult, or who thought that they would uproot the culture or change the church. And they met a strong resistance to maintain the culture and left and went somewhere else. And God allowed us to operate in discernment, and so it never was something that got us off track. And I really thank God for that. In 16 years, like nothing has derailed us because of stupidity or
foolishness, as you called it last week.
Isn't that a good word, though? Just stupid stuff. Yeah, did not happen at all, and I'm thankful for that. And we've been able to maintain our focus and our direction.
Yeah, and I think you ought to go to a church that resembles or matches your passion.
Absolutely.
We're not the street evangelism church. We're not, and so if that's your passion, there's a church out there. The body has many different members and different gifts, and so I think that you ought to consider that versus being in a church where you're frustrated because you don't feel that they are fulfilling
what you need,
the will of God. But it's really what you're personally passionate about. And so, yeah, I'm just as excited when people leave as I am when they come. And the reason is because I don't want you to stay here and be a problem for me.
And don't be unhappy.
And be unhappy, right?
And complain, and then
I can wish you well, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm saying I love it when people make a good exit because I feel that people don't do that well. People come in loud and leave quietly. Like if you came up to me and embraced me and wanted to get to know me when you came in, then have the courtesy to say goodbye when it's time to leave.
So I'm not looking up going, y'all, where did such and such
and you
go?
And you running from me when I see you in a restaurant or the grocery store. You don't have to run.
Well, people do that because they don't understand the importance of leaving the right way.
The right
proper way to say goodbye.
And just say, as my time here is up, I'm good with that because then I'm not a problem for you and you're not a problem for me.
So we talked about last week because piggybacking off of that, the issues are, I'm putting those in air quotes, that people had at New Life. And we talked about how some people say having two pastors was too much. So let's talk about that. And then while we're talking about that, let's also talk about how you lead as the two of you.
Let me jump in because I think having two pastors out is a plus for us. And the reason why I say that is that when you look at, the reason why I say that is because I think a bulk of our memberships are married couples. And I think you all pastoring together and leading together is attractive to people that are married, because we always talking about, we don't have a lot of single brothers in our church. They're all married. But I think that's a plus.
And when they've come, a lot of them are married women here in our church, believe it or not.
Exactly, yeah.
Because we had a whole wave of that when we were at 6888.
Oh, yeah, we think of a lot of
people who did not or could not conform to the both of us and who left. I would not say of very many, but we've had some, and it's their orientation, and I think that's a plus.
And it's interesting that you say that because I don't know that I've ever had anyone say to me personally. I'm trying to remember. I've had people to say I've never had a female pastor, and they've told me, this is different for me, but I like it.
Yeah.
I've never had anyone come to me at me anyway negatively, or I just never had that. That has not been my experience.
It's not been a negative
You can
situation.
tell. You know how I can always tell? It's because they struggle with, they still call me First Lady because they just don't, it's not in their orientation.
So you had members
people call her First Lady all the time.
No, I'm talking about members, not people. I'm not talking about people who visit and stuff. I'm talking about members.
So I'm saying that I can tell when it's not their orientation that they're struggling.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying, have you had members who still did that?
What?
Called you First Lady?
Yeah.
Oh,
not
wow.
many, but that's the key indicator is when I know it's not their orientation.
So let me back the
is
train
when
up
they
and
don't.
say,
Because I've never had. I cannot say that I've ever had anybody.
well, let me back the train up and say, so we've had some who struggled with the and
Oh yeah.
that was more 6888 than 6825.
Yeah.
But then that was also
They didn't know what to do with me.
exactly.
So do you think that's part of that coming in
Change
trying to
the culture.
change
Well,
the
because
culture?
you want to know how
Yeah.
strong the two of us are in our leadership independently, and then how strong y'all as a couple. do I lean towards her? Do I lean towards you?
Mm-hmm.
How do I submit to the both of you? There's no difficulty there. That shouldn't be a problem. We understand it's not people's orientation, because particularly in Memphis, I can't think of very many churches that had a husband and wife leading a church. Maybe
Not necessarily the way we lead.
No,
Yeah.
y'all lead like on the same level. Like there's no.
But I can't think of one.
I don't know.
I
We
don't-
had to talk about that because
Yeah,
off
I'm
the
not
radar
sure.
because I don't know that.
I was thinking of one, but the more I thought about it, no, that's not their leadership.
And I think the indicator for me, I've heard people say, "Well, how we know who gonna preach?"
No, people say that all the time.
To me, and
You're talking about per Sunday, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'll admit,
Yeah, 'cause-
you have two different preaching styles.
Uh-huh.
If Bishop preach, I'm like, ooh, hallelujah, the cross is coming. Pastor Linda preach, I'm like, holding my hand out, gonna spank me, just get it over with, get this
not
whooping, But it balances out. So
Absolutely. And
That is
I
funny.
think that's the beauty of who we are and how God has put us together, is that we complement each other. He's not trying to be me and I'm not trying to be him. And, I'm always thankful that you are, man enough to let me be woman, because, yeah.
what was that? Quincy, I just feel like we were in on the moment.
Because God didn't wire me to be a man. He didn't wire me to
Right.
do it like he does it.
But some women preachers do try to preach real manly and masculine,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think that's what works for you. Like you approach it as a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And approach it from the lens of a woman. I'm not even trying to look at it from a man's perspective, because I can't. I have to look at it from the lens that God has given me. And I think that the body would be, I'm not saying because let me just make sure that I go on record to say this wouldn't work for everybody. It really is the outgrowth or a spring from our marriage, because this is the way we do marriage. So it works for us because we're not trying to come to church and be something different than we are at home. But I do think that the body of Christ would be more enriched if it embraced the giftings of women.
Absolutely.
Because there are some women that are just amazing with the word. I'm not just talking about in the kitchen and decorating. I'm talking about with the word. And we do ourselves a disservice to silence women in the church or relegate women to domestic roles in the church, because just you can go through the Bible. I hate to just keep whipping this Bible out, but you can go through the Bible and look at even the mightiest of men that God used. There were women who nurtured those men.
Right.
So we do ourselves a disservice. But what I will go on record to say is I've had a beautiful journey. I just really haven't had a lot. If people have said things, it's certainly not been in my face. People have treated me with much respect. The greatest respect from men of our church. They are just wonderful when it comes to how they treat me. It is not patronizing me or, treat me like, oh, you the little woman. I really need to go to Bishop. No, they'll come to me. We'll talk.
And more come to you than me.
So
It's so funny. Yeah, more come to you to you than me, and I don't have issue with that. In fact, I really appreciate it, because I think that sometimes pastors get into this bag of counseling, and you got to know if you're not a counselor. Like every pastor is not a counselor, and I hope somebody hears me say that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's certain things that you can say that'll help any member. So let me just say that.
Sure.
But those intense things, you got to be honest with people enough to say, you know what, I can't counsel that.
Right.
And get you to a professional or a person who's really, really qualified to do that. And so I've had those situations where people come to you and not me, and I am not the least bothered by that. Now, let me train up system. I've never had a woman say anything to me about your leadership. I've had men who have said,
they've never seen a woman
and have difficulty with that.
And I didn't grow up with,
because of how they were raised.
and I didn't grow up seeing women in ministry, period.
But I think women are harder on this.
Oh, women
than
are harder
men
on women.
Yeah.
Women are harder on. I'm always amazed at that women struggle with women preaching,
They're
not
the
just
ones
pastoring.
who are the most vocal about
Who are
it.
the most judgmental? I know that than listening to women talk
Oh,
about
wow.
other women.
I've witnessed
Yeah,
a woman getting up to preach at a church and women walking out.
yeah.
Really?
I've never seen that.
That's always amazing to me. But let me say, my joy is in being able to help you do what you do. Because you got to remember, for 20 years before we got to this, just doing this, almost 5 years in your first church, and 15 in the other, you were doing it solely as senior pastor. And I was helping behind the scenes, but there was so many things I couldn't do because I wasn't in position to do those things.
But you got to go and tell people that you had a pastorate position, staff pastor position at Riverside.
I did, but it was more in the counseling and ministry development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
I
you did a great
wasn't.
job.
But I wasn't. Thank you. But I wasn't making no major decisions. I was
No.
just doing the work.
No, you were making major decisions. I think.
Y'all wasn't paying me much either.
Well, yeah. No, I
You want
don't,
some back pay or something?
No, I'm just saying. Look, y'all saying spiritual, not churchy.
Oh, that was
You
the
get what you pay for.
I'm just trying to make sure y'all understand, because I think that's another inequity in the
yeah, I see what
church.
you're saying.
Absolutely.
It is an inequity in that I'm talking about even women who are in administrative positions or in executive pastors and all of that. There's an inequity in how even women are compensated oftentimes. But
well, we were, yeah. So, not arguing that point. I'm just simply saying you had the position, you did well, but you were embraced in that position because of who you were as a person.
Yeah, they
not
were-
necessarily
I didn't have-
because you were the first lady, and that's what you want to look at first. And
Yeah.
for whatever didn't happen for you financially, let me say this: you were going to get there because you were valuable. That's number one, and number two. And I want to say this the nice way.
okay.
I think their struggle, in fact, I know their struggle was with me, not you.
Oh, and I said last week they didn't bother me.
No.
They didn't bother me. I can't say that. But it's a joy because you and I get a chance to work together, as it relates to, this is a lot to do. And when you think about one person trying to manage all of what we do,
Yeah.
and having to preach every Sunday, and
You get tired very
you get
quickly.
tired.
Yeah.
And so being able to have somebody in your corner, to me, I'm glad I can be that person.
Yeah, you get tired, and you're trying to come up with vision and, lead ministry leaders, and then you're trying to preach sermons, and then you're trying to have meetings, and then you're trying to attend functions. Yeah, we can go on and on, and that's the reason why staff is so essential.
Absolutely.
But to have somebody partnering with you in ministry is cool, because you get a chance to share the load, and then certainly use staff as well. But those old systems of church governance are in many instances, if they have not gone, they're eroding quickly, and we need to look at doing it a different way, particularly where church plants are concerned. That's the whole idea. How do I do this in such a way where the one who brings the word remains vibrant? And you cannot carry
that's
all
so
of the
true.
stuff
You cannot.
and be vibrant on Sunday, because, and I guess people don't understand, it's so easy to be tired mentally.
Oh yeah.
Your brain gets tired, and I say this all the time, that you would much rather be physically tired than mentally tired.
That's so true.
Because you can go to sleep, wake up, and you'll be rested. But when you're mentally tired, you can go to sleep, wake up, and you're still
Right.
you're still tired. And I don't think that many people understand what is required.
Yeah.
But then I don't think many, and I'll say this quickly, many young preachers, male and female, understand what is required. And certainly in their pursuit of this position, they have these grandiose thoughts about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it and how this looks. And they get there and they peter out fast. It's because they have no orientation. There's nobody saying to them, pace yourself as you get started,
Sure.
so you can build up a measure of momentum, or to teach them what to look for and how to manage that and negotiate that And so you do get tired quickly, but to have someone who partners with you. And then the final thing is, those who come into ministry are not looking for that. Unfortunately, everybody wants to take on this center stage role.
Yeah.
And so it takes away to a certain extent.
And it gives me an opportunity to live out my own calling. There's so many women down through history, and certainly still now, who are suppressed, who are oppressed, in that what God has put in them, there's no place for expression because they are not allowed. There's a ceiling there. So I'm thankful to have an opportunity to express, because, I have a calling to preach, but God really has given me the gift of shepherding. I know that I'm wired to shepherd. And so this whole pastorate piece for me is that gift in its greatest expression of shepherding people, walking alongside them. So to me, it's no wonder that I have a passion for counseling, because that's a part of shepherding. So I'm thankful for that. And I know that that's not going to happen for everybody. And I'm not trying to create something out here to say that this is the paradigm, and this is the model. I can only be thankful that God has graced me to walk this walk. And I try to do it in such a way that it brings about integrity to it, that it brings about a level of strength, that I'm not trying to be just the bossy pastor, female pastor or whatever. I have a heart to shepherd people, and that's what it's about for me.
Okay. All right. Have we wrapped it all up? Do we need a
Is this
part
how y'all
four?
do? This how y'all do?
Do we
it
need
here?
a part 4?
No,
Do you have
no,
more
what?
to say?
What are you looking for?
No, I'm just trying to see how y'all do it over here.
Well, we do it differently every single time.
Oh, okay. Don't let me come in here changing the culture.
Ma'am.
Would you not?
Ma'am, the culture of Beyond the Pulpit
Is established, yes. I have established the culture.
Bishop, we will not allow foolishness to come in here and try to change our culture.
Listen, when in Rome, do what the Romans do. I'm over here with y'all, and this is how y'all do it.
We let you talk freely.
This is South Africa.
It's not.
But I, since we're closing up, it really has been, and I'm glad that we're able. You invited me in to talk, and hope this won't be my last time.
No, it would not.
But it is good, because it's rare, maybe now more than used to, that we get a chance to really talk about us and how things are done in New Life. And we certainly don't lift New Life up as, the best, or, other beyond other people. It's just, we're so secure in what God has called us to do. So it's not about competition or anything, because I can go to other churches and appreciate how they do it.
Oh, yeah.
And have learned from other churches.
Oh, no. It's nothing competitive. It's just, we're the best.
Wow.
No.
We're just a mighty good place to call home.
Nothing competitive at all. No. Just not.
She was so humble, and he just
did he though? Didn't he? I was trying to,
appreciate you.
This beyond the pulpit.
right. He went beyond.
Poor dog don't wag his own tail.
But I told you last week that I'd never gotten a chance to join a church, and so when we'll started
take you
New
in now.
Life,
Did you
I was like, what kind of church would I join?
Wow.
And I set out to, on my part, to create the kind of church that I would want to join.
Right.
So now if I ever want to leave here, y'all in trouble, because that means this is not the kind of church that I would want to be a member of.
Okay.
Well, you can't leave.
Right.
You
So y'all going with me?
You the best. No, you the best. She left the church. No, that don't work.
But we,
I'd hate that.
But I think
Pastor Linda won't be back no more. She has joined another church.
right.
But I think a couple of things. I think what I enjoy about New Life is that we're always evolving.
Always.
And I think you have a great balance. I think people can come here not only seeing you all, but they can see young people in leadership.
Sure.
They can see women in leadership, men in leadership. You know what I'm saying? I think we do a great job of creating a balance where people can see themselves serving or being in leadership at this church.
Absolutely.
And then when we talking about evolving, you talking about Beyond the Pulpit, a conversation with Linda. All these things are, and these are things that we didn't even dream about when we were in our beginnings.
No.
But I think you all been open to embracing this technology and where people are for social media and stuff like that is a great thing, because you would think, I know sometimes you get tired, sometimes it's been a long journey.
Yeah.
But even through that long journey, you're still trying to develop and recreate you all yourself. And I think that's a great thing for the church and for people to see, because not only they can see that if you all are doing it, I can do it in my own life.
Absolutely. And I agree with you, Quincy, that is what we do bring to the table. And even in that transparency of sharing the journey, talking about it as we go along. And so we've been having those conversations even this year, talking about, okay, where do we go from here?
Right.
Because we've accomplished a lot of the things that we dreamed about 16 years ago. Okay, so, we can't get here and plateau. What are we going to do from here? And that is a model for other people to look and say, you know what, I got to keep dreaming. I got to keep going. And even for me as a woman, since we had that conversation, I think that in some ways I'm a draw. I'm a draw for the woman who is looking to find herself and saying, okay, wait a minute, I can see her. And because I've had people tell me that and all the time. I just celebrated my birthday, and the messages that I received, people sent me, text messages and stuff, and talked about the places that I've helped them that I didn't even realize of coming into who they are, into their own. And so I don't take this opportunity that God has given me lightly to be that person, not trying to, trailblaze, but not taking it for granted.
Right.
That women look at me and say, okay, if she can do this, then I can do whatever God is calling me to do.
And I agree with it. I mean, I can wave my hand over here and say that was, the thing for me. I now feel comfortable sitting at male-dominated tables. You helped me see that's your gift. Yeah. You can operate in it, even if you are a woman. Absolutely. You can be who you are. So, I love you. I'm not going to end this podcast being all emotional, but I did end the first episode. Sorry, I'm the host. I'm the host this week.
Do you need to give her a tissue?
Let's have a moment, because I'm proud. Because it makes me proud to see when you all are stepping in, because y'all are amazing, and I'm thinking this could have been untapped potential that never was realized. I mean, because Freddy came in. Unassuming, she was quiet, all that. And I kept saying, who is she? I just see her kind of doing, the folk that come in with a big bang, they don't do nothing. Yeah. But the people that just kind of come in and just kind of fit in, and then all of a sudden you start to see them evolve, because you don't even know all of this stuff is living inside of them.
I didn't know it was inside of me. So, I've watched myself grow just over the past year and a half of working with you. And, I've learned how to edit. And, just the list is so long. And it's because of you, because you trusted me enough to say, you can do this. And I know you can do this. You told me a few months ago I was a decorator. I said, I didn't even know.
Y'all, this is what's funny. Freddie works with me with Linda Willis and Powers, www.willisandpowers.org.
And Linda Willis and Powers on all social media outlets. Wait, let her tell her story.
Bishop, this thing is turning into a conversation with Linda.
What is this WW?
It's a turn.
So, but oftentimes, and we're a new business. I mean, we've only been in business a couple of years now, but oftentimes, when we're dealing with clients and stuff, they're like, we need Freddy. I need a Freddy. Where did you get her? And they don't know it's stuff that you're probably just starting to do.
My first time doing it. Sitting at their business for the first time.
Let me just say this. No, but seriously, we're very proud of the fact of the image and the example that you present for the life of the church, and it's a cool thing to watch the empowerment of other women. I said something Sunday that I hope makes sense when Jesus says in 9:5, as long as I'm in the world, I'm the light of the world. Mm-hmm. And when you come to think about how you can be light, it's out of his light.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that was a powerful
He does
point.
not call you to be light without acknowledging the fact that I'm the one who's going to allow you to be light. I'm going to light you or turn you on, so to speak, illuminate you out of who I am. So people are empowered through your own personal empowerment, what God has done in your life, and that's always a cool thing. And then you get the privilege of watching them go be light somewhere else, or just be light around you. And you think, I had the opportunity to participate in that person like a Freddy, who does so many different things. I'm sometimes amazed at how much Freddy does. I'm working on my dissertation, and there are times, comical things I got to document it, and I'll say it real quick. I got a document that I was trying to work out, and it was received back and from the instructor, and they had torn the document up and put it in some kind of structure. And I said, Freddie, you're going to have to figure this out because I can't get it out of what they put it in, and I've got to resubmit it to them. And the comical thing was she looked at it and she said, oh, this is this and this is that. And I'm thinking, in all the years I've worked on this laptop, I don't know what these folks did. I don't know in Word, I don't know what these folks did. And to her, she kind of looked at me like, how is it you don't know this? And I'm looking at her like, how did you know it?
For me, it's her creativity. And I cannot tell
Don't tell
on
what
air
influences
what
me.
influences her creativity. But Freddy, after dark.
What?
They don't know this side of me. See, now Bishop gonna try to
It's
call me
beyond
a lie.
So now we ain't spiritual and we ain't
We
church.
done gone beyond the pulpit.
Let me just tell you, she can come up with some amazing ideas. Just give her a little darkness.
See, darkness is described in many different ways. All right, people,
I told
I'm
you-
going to end this show.
I told you to turn the lights down in the sanctuary. I'm trying to help you.
No, that could be a greater problem than you know, especially if you back there in the dark.
I'm going to end this podcast. Bishop trying to take my spot
No, I
because he
ain't gonna
don't
take
like
your
what
spot.
he just heard.
Yeah.
But it's all right.
You better come into this light. You better do-
And now, now she and Shauna are teamed up, and I call them my right hand, my left hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot I don't even have to just think about because they're handling all of the creativity. Quincy, for years, it was you and I. I mean,
Baby,
Quincy.
I'm thankful they on board.
It was
Trust
me and
me.
Quincy.
We just sent Quincy a text.
Listen,
Quincy
I'm
now,
good.
when we started New Life, it was me and Quincy. And we were
Quincy's got gray
creating
hairs
and
now, so Quincy,
Yes.
he has gray hairs, which is
Listen.
funny watching Quincy with gray
Listen,
hair.
I'm thankful because
And-
God, we were pulling them late nights.
yeah, we were pulling late nights.
And
And you would be asleep, sir.
and still do that.
Still sleep.
Still do that.
You would be asleep.
Still not answering the phone when people
Right.
call.
Well, see, you gotta know that's not my ministry.
Look, Pastor Linda be calling me. I'll be like, baby, this my aunt.
So
Because your wife's like, who is that calling?
Can you talk?
I am a preacher.
I
am.
know.
I'm not all these other things.
I got an even better one for y'all. 7:50 this morning. Hey, you awake? I said, let me go on and clear my throat because
Did
she
you say
calling.
6:50 this
Yeah.
She did.
See, I don't look. I am.
See, I'm my most creative self
In
in
the
the
morning.
mornings. Freddie is her most creative self at night. So
I don't know.
I just need to put it on her mind, and then after dark, she's gonna process it.
I sent a text with my real idea.
And all the things she does after dark.
Well,
It's
all-
just,
that's
what I'm
dangerous.
saying.
Mama, I promise it's not what you think. All right, this has been a great trilogy of 16 years of New Life. Thank you, Dr. Linda, for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Anytime.
Quincy, for joining us behind the camera.
Y'all tell them y'all want me back, so we can talk about other
Oh, we
stuff.
want you back.
Yeah, she can come
I was
back.
telling the audience so that they'll write in. Can they write into your show? How does that work?
Sure. Y'all can send us a DM while she trying to knock us.
Do you have a website?
We have an
We
email
have a
address.
website.
We
You
do.
got a website?
We do have a website.
YouTube
Sure
page.
do. We got
the
YouTube,
same thing you have.
Instagram,
Oh, okay,
Facebook.
okay,
She
all
try.
Don't little boy me. Don't little boy me. Don't come up and try to little boy me. Do y'all have
All right.
and got a following?
Oh, I believe that.
She wanted to see our numbers or something. She don't believe us.
He told me that the numbers last week were the highest
No,
What'd you tell me? What'd you tell me?
Because who told him that?
Second or third, something like that.
No, I think you told me second. You didn't say third.
Well, it was the
Highest rating.
second.
Yes.
Okay. Well, y'all tell them right in either on Conversations with Linda.
No.
I'm getting ready to say we out. Okay. I'm getting ready to say we out because we have gone too far.
This has been good. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye. Pastor Linda. We out.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Pulpit with Bishop Kevin. If you enjoyed this conversation, please be sure to like and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. To stay connected with Bishop and Beyond the Pulpit podcast, follow at Beyond the Pulpit the podcast on all social media platforms. See you next week.